Hey everybody, how you all doing? Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy whatever, Happy Holidays, everybody. And as requested, as I promised in my community post, I was going to review a couple of holiday movies this month. Actually, there's going to be four of them. And two of them are going to be Home Alone movies that I kind of slipped under the radar because I reviewed Home Alone, the first Home Alone movie and its sequel, really early on in this series, and of course I believe it was about 2 or 3 years ago. I already reviewed the Home Sweet Home Alone, which was Home Alone 6, and of course you all know how much I did not really like that, but there were two that slipped under the radar. So and I'm going to review one of those today. That one is Home Alone 4, Taking Back the House. Now, let's take a step back and look at the Home Alone series in general. So, as you know, the first two movies were fine. They followed one single character, and had a common formula. The third one sticks out kind of like a sore thumb. It was essentially the studio's attempt to transform into an anthology, to some mixed results. A lot of people look back at it and say, well, it didn't really need to be made. This was complete total derivation from everything, and not to mention there was a whole bunch of things that just made people just say, what the hell, man. But then there's the other half like me that just looks back at it like it's not as bad as everyone thinks. Again, like I just mentioned, it was an attempt to take into a different direction. So here we are. Fast forward to 2002 with this one, Home Alone 4, Taking Back the House. This was a made-for-TV movie set literally 10 years after the second movie was made. But of course, so we go from here. So you decide to go back to formula, back to the roots, back to the McAllister family. So what do you do? Now, of course, now it's 10 years later. Obviously, going to have to recast everyone, which, of course, I call this one Recast-A-Mania because obviously Macaulay was too old. And, of course, and John Hurt was unavailable, and the same with Catherine O'Hara, and practically everybody. So what you do, you recast them with a bunch of particularly unknowns, some future heavyweights. I'll get to that in a sec. And then, of course, but then comes the big thing that just had everyone scratching their heads when this movie dropped on TV back in 2002 was, wow, would you say continuity problems galore? I'm like, wait a minute. If we're gonna go back to Kevin McAllister, why does it look like he's like 9 years old? It looks like or something like that. Like, what happened? I'm like, so you're saying that nothing before happened, but except the fact that out of all the characters that bad guys that decided to resurrect, instead of getting Joe Pesci reprised his role as Harry. Instead, we get French Stewart as a recast for Marv Merchants, and essentially he gets promoted from sidekick to head. And of course, no Harry. They I have no idea why they decided to just drop the character, but they still mention it. But I'm like, why? Instead, he's paired with his wife, which somehow they met in prison. There's again like, wait a minute, how do they meet in prison when Furmore? There's a separate prison. Nothing made any sense in this god awful made for TV movie. And like I said, continuity problems galore. Like, but where it was the age problems, or like when is the set? It's like they completely just omitted the extended family, like no Uncle Frank and none of the cousins. What the hell happened? It's like they're just saying this. Oh, all this part of the family decided just let's axe and just keep it simple. But now what we do from here? So apparently now the parents are getting divorced. Really, you really want to go with that whole dynamic? And then of course you introduce a new love interest for Peter McAllister, who's like this big Harris, and apparently a big rich one, and she's trying to host a ball and a foreign dignitary, and which of course leads to the whole plot of the whole movie in the first place, where Marv wants to kidnap this foreign dignitary. I was like, wow, talk about ballsy. And there's like a whole lot of other things going on. Like you got an untrustworthy butler, which Kevin eventually befriends. It's a big flopping mess. And what it boils down to is, wow, there was some moments that tried to be funny and creative, which it kind of did, but I felt some moments really fell flat. And then of course, I kind of like the whole like, here's the real villain. And it's like, what? Okay, I get it. I then even more crazy. It's like, oh no, didn't see that coming. Wow. I'm like, wow. again, I feel like the producers and writers just were trying to think of something that would stick, and clearly this one was just not good. There was just moments that made me feel like this was more of a cheap slapstick comedy that tried to be like the original Home Alone, and it kind of failed. But I will say, it tried to make credit with creating something new. Like, oh, we have a love interest for Marv, and then we have the whole plot twist of this other character, and then you have the butler. But yeah, outside of that, star power wise, Eric Avari, who plays Prescott the butler, between him and French Stewart, like I mentioned earlier, who plays Marv, I mean, I felt like that was enough to kind of carry the movie. They have future star Jason Begg as Peter McAllister, replacing John Hurd. I think he did an okay job, but it's like all these other people are just fairly unknowns. We don't know who this is. And out of all the kid actors to get to play Kevin, instead you get this fairly unknown kid in Mike Weinberg. I never even heard of him. It's like they just said, hey, we need a couple of child actors, and they just line them all up, and then it's like, okay, we'll take this guy because he was kind of fun or something like that. I'm like, wow, I feel like they really should have done a much better job. And like I said, there were some moments that kind of fell flat, but there were a few funny moments that just made me laugh. And I think that's the one saving grace outside of some of these stars that tried to make something work out of this pathetic movie. And like, yeah, that's pretty much all I'm gonna say. And like, I'm like, it's a bit of a letdown. It's like you want to see them go back to what they can, and it just blows up in their face. And like, I'm glad it was just made for TV, but eventually it got home video release. I regret getting it, and like, the more I keep thinking about it, it's like I really wish they could have just redone this entire movie and just made things actually make sense and actually explain, oh, what happened to the extended family and this and that. They don't do any of that. They just flush everything away, make it anew, and just say, hey, all right, yep, it's Home Alone. He's home by himself. Here's Marv again. I'm like, okay, so he's the bad guy. But yeah, it's a mess. Bottom line. And with that in mind, for the first time in the history of this channel, I am giving this one of the lowest scores ever. I am giving this a 1.5 out of 10. Yes, it is lower than my Highlander 2 review. That is that bad. I'm going to say this right now, avoid at all costs. Yes, I know it's on the Disney Plus, I believe. Just don't bother touching it. Just say this one should have just been left Home Alone, as some people said. All right? So, yeah, that does for today. If you really want to see it, I just say watch with caution. I say avoid at all costs. Just that is my word of warning. That is this thing is just a lump of coal, pretty much. This is not present, guys. I'm sorry. Hate to say that. I hate to kick off this holiday extravaganza with a big lump of coal, but I had to talk about it. Okay, but besides my little rant there and my thoughts, again, if you want to watch it, give it a watch. If not, I say avoid at all costs. All right. That's just for today. Let me know what you think. Thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, stay tuned for some more awesome and exciting content.